Oh, howdy all, grab yourselves a beer, it is time for some Path of Exile, and today I wanted to give the results from my Vaal Temple challenge that I set myself. Originally I was going to run 40 of the things, but I ended up filling up my quad tab with reasonably useful stuff after 30 runs, so I thought I'll cut it off at 30, give people a bit of a sense of the sort of loot that you can expect to get from 30 Vaal Temple runs. Now, in terms of my methodology, I was always using the maximum available number of Master Sextants. So that meant that I always had 5 Sextants active, and that I would re-roll bad and mediocre Sextants. I would keep the ones that were useful, and my threshold for going that, I have to go through an entire other video about Sextant rolling methodology. But generally speaking, if it adds monsters to the zone, and it's not an outright terrible Sextant, I keep it. And if it's something that adds an event that gives a lot of loot, then I keep it. Otherwise, I tended to re-roll it. Now, I had a couple of really lucky hits with the Sextants that I was using as well, although nothing that was really off this planet good luck. So, I'll go through the investment that I used. Firstly, I used 30 Vaal Temple maps, cost about 360 chaos. I used 90 Master Cartographer Sextants. So 50 of these were actually run, and about 40 of them were re-rolled over. So that's about 252 chaos at current prices. Usually they're a bit more expensive than that, but they've fallen off in price this league. I use Scarabs where appropriate to synergize with the best of the Sextants. So I wasn't using them all the time, but I was using them, although initially I started out using Diviner's Scarabs all the time. I then pulled away from that and started just using them in conjunction with the Scarabs in conjunction with the Sextant mods that they rolled really well with. So I used 3 Gilded and 6 Polished Divination Scarabs, cost of about 93 chaos. 3 Gilded and 3 Polished Harbinger Scarabs for 145 chaos. That really paid off, and I think the Ancient Orbs should be visible. Down here you'll see 5 full Ancient Orbs, and there's also a few more shards of them. There are annulment orbs, there was all sorts of good stuff that came from that. Basically, the Zana Harbinger mod is really good, and if you've got the mod that causes Harbingers to drop double loot, the Sextant, which is not particularly rare, although it's not common either, then that combination is just amazing. I used 1 Possessed Foe Prophecy. I tried to use more of them because I did get a Jackpot Sextant that causes all of the monsters you kill that are possessed to drop a Gilded Scarab. And you'll see there's a whole bunch of Scarabs in here that came from that. And that costs 32 chaos in the current league. So do keep that prophecy in mind. It used to be junk tier, it's now quite expensive. I used 6 Mortal Fragments to go with Gifts of the Red Queen. It costs 42 chaos. I used a bunch of trivial Scarabs as well, just things like Breach Scarabs. Early on I was Scarabing up every map. I then stopped doing so. So I would be using things like Breach and Piranda Scarabs just to add more monsters onto the map again. Those weren't expensive Scarabs, and in total I spent about 1170 chaos on all of these runs. So in terms of the lucky hits that I got, firstly I finally got that Defeat Chayula in a map challenge, so praise Toucan for that, because I was worried that that was going to be an absolute nightmare. And for many of you it probably will be, because it's a fucking horrible challenge. I got the Nemesis mods drop 3 additional currency items Sextant once. Now this is a pretty rare Sextant mod. According to the data mining website PoEDB, it's about 1 in 190 odds to get it on any given Sextant. So when you're using 90 Master Cartographer Sextants, you would expect about 0.45 of these on average. So it wasn't staggeringly lucky to get it, but it was also luckier than average. I got the Harbinger mod twice, and that is a really good Sextant mod. The one that causes Harbingers to drop additional currency shards, as well as sticking an extra Harbinger in the map. I got the Gilded Scarab mod once, which is about 1 in 95 odds to get on each Sextant roll, so it's not staggeringly lucky, but it is about what you'd expect. The expected number of these you get is about 1. You got about a 65% chance to get it at least once, and considerable chance to get it twice. 3+ times as rare. I also got the Nico Sextant once, which is somewhat wasted. Anyways, let's have a quick look through all of the loot that came from it. Firstly, 39 tier 16 maps. That should give you a bit of a sense that even on a map like Vaal Temple that is pretty well known for not having very many monsters, you can still sustain maps in this league by doing blights. Blights will put extra monsters on the map, and by just stuffing the map full of additional monsters through the use of Master Cartographer Sextants, or lower tier Sextants if you're running a map that can fit those. So 39 of those, that's a reasonably good value. I have to check the exact prices of them. I think they're going for about 15 chaos each. So if I'm correct on that front, then that is 585 chaos. 5 full ancient orbs, 1 exalt and 10 exalted shards. Again, those exalted shards were part of the rewards from those harbingers. All of those ancient orbs came from harbingers. This exalted shards all came from harbingers. The exalted orb dropped from the nemesis monsters, drop additional currency items, sextant mod. Then I had 4 divine orb drops. So these were all divine orbs. It wasn't 6 links that were then vended. 3 of them dropped from the nemesis monsters, have additional currency drops, and 1 drop somewhere else. Then there's also a 10 clean tier 15 maps, and one that's a bit of an oddball, one ugly tier 15 map that dropped as a corrupted white item because it dropped. This wouldn't be a common occurrence, but it came from the Gifts of the Red Queen chest. I also have this here Soul Taker, beautiful unique axe that's a couple of exalts in the current league. At this point, I'm going to pause the video and come back after we've disposed of all of these items and go through everything else that dropped. But before we do that, we've got 1.5 exalts. That's another exalt and a quarter there, so that's 2 and 3/4 exalts. 4 divine orbs, that pushes us up to 3 and 1/4 exalts. All these maps here is another 3.5, so that is 6 and 3/4 exalts. We've already made back our currency investment already, but of course you expect to make more because you're running a shit ton of maps. And then there's all of these, which are another another 80 chaos or so in tier 15 maps. So we're already ahead. Pausing now, and then we'll come back and go through the rest of it. And next up, I certainly hope you like Vaal Orbs. I certainly like Vaal Orbs. These are the Vaal Orbs that dropped. So we have the Inventor Divination card. That is 50 Vaal Orbs plus this 1/3 of a set. So that is 53 Vaal Orbs. I'll round down the incomplete set. 53 plus 63, 68, 88, and then all of these stupid things. That's 90, 100, 110, 120, 126 Vaal Orbs. That's a lot of science. Next up, we have 12 copies of the Wretched Divination card. So this is the one that has a very slim chance of getting you a headhunter, and its value is entirely predicated upon that chance. If you've ever run the tower map, you'll know that the Wretched drops there, and you have a bit of a sense of the drop rate. I'm not sure if it's the same in Vaal Temple or not. It sort of feels like it might be, because it's somewhat uncommon in tower as well. And we have Last Hope, which is a divination card for Mortal Hope. And why have I got a Mortal Rage there? That shouldn't be there. We have 28 copies of that divination card that dropped, so that gives you a bit of a sense as to how much more common than the Wretched they are. I'm basically averaging 1 of these a map, and I got 9 of them in one particular map where everything just came together really well. And next up we have all the essences. We have 3 Voices divination card, which I got a massive amount of. 63 copies of that divination card. This drops in any map that has 3 unique bosses, and so Vaal Temple is one of those. So an average of 2 of these a map. They basically get shat out like crazy. There's also a bunch of mixed essences. Of interest, there's 15 Remnants of Corruption, which are actually pretty rare in normal gameplay, but there is a Sextant mod that comes up quite a bit if you're using Sextants on your maps that causes there to be a lot of extra essences, and for those essences to often have a chance to have a Remnant of Corruption. In terms of a value here, it's kind of hard to move essences. They're not very liquid this league. I would maybe expect that if you were to put in the effort to get maximum value from this lot, you might be looking at 120 to 150 chaos. I'm not going to put max effort in, and so realistically I'm only going to see 100 of that. Next up we have premium mapping consumables. We have 14 Master Cartographer Sextants, that's about 40 chaos at current prices. You'll notice I went nowhere near neutral on those. I was a massive net consumer of them. But with a lot of people delving this league, there are a lot of these in the economy. Delve just seems to drop a lot of these. 14 Journeyman and 11 Apprentice, and 50 Cartographer's Chisels. In terms of lesser Scarabs, Gilded Reliquary, Gilded Elder, another Gilded Reliquary, Gilded Shaper, Gilded Ambush is actually premium, Gilded Breach, Gilded Torment, Gilded Parandus, and Gilded Torment again. So that should give you a bit of a sense there that there's plenty of plenty of supply of the lesser Scarabs in this league. That's why they're so cheap. In terms of premium ones, Polished Harbinger, Gilded Legion, Gilded Cartography, Gilded Ambush, and 2 Gilded Sulfites. All told, I think that what you see on this screen is approximately a 1 Exalt, so I'm going to call it that. And next up we have the non-bulk Divination cards. So we had one complete set of the Encroaching Darkness, a bunch of sets of the Summoner, a single chaotic disposition. A lot of these came from various Diviner Strongboxes, various Gambler sets, and other little garbage. There's a void there. In terms of the good stuff though, 1 Beauty Through Death. This is the unique. This is a unique drop from Kaj LLI, I think is her name. One of the 3 end bosses in the zone. She's the nastiest of them. She's believed to be the only one that can drop this. And it's a Divination card that a set of 5 of them gives you the upgrade prophecy for the Atziri's Mirror unique shield. That prophecy is staggeringly rare to get without this Divination card, and so this Divination card is the primary way that prophecy enters the game, and therefore that Atziri's Reflection enters the game. Atziri's Reflection is a pretty damn nice item, but it's one that is also very niche. In any case, this varies from league to league. Sometimes it's as little as 2 Exalts, sometimes it's as much as 5, but it's always a juicy drop, and it's one of the things that might pull you towards considering running Vaal Temples yourself. I had a Wolven King's Bite that dropped as well. This was courtesy of a very nice Diviner's Strongbox. And the last thing, it's quite a big jump down to the Journey, but that's the next thing down. The rest of the stuff is really small. So basically, in terms of value here, it's all about Beauty Through Death, and the Wolven King's Bite is a small blip on the radar. Next up we have the remaining prophecies. We got a Vaal Winds, which is a really nice drop. Unbearable Whispers 5, Vaal Winds again. These both dropped from the Gifts of the Red Queen setup that we had twice, so 1 drop from each of those. Unbearable Whispers, Unbreathing Queen for Anarchy's End 4, and Servant's Heart. All of those dropped from the various Blight encounters that I did. A bunch of silver coins again, they would have also dropped from the Blights. There were 9 each of Tier 14 and Tier 13 maps, none of which were ruined by being corrupted with a low number of mods. One of the Tier 13s was an 8 mod map. They can go for a little bit more, especially with such juicy pack size on that. 46% pack size is really nice. However, this point of the league, it still is a Tier 13, it probably won't sell. Also very importantly, a single Blighted map, which is less than I've been averaging in the rest of the game, but still is always a very welcome drop. They are quite a valuable drop when you get one. Next up we have a bunch of lower tier maps. So we've got a Hall of the Grandmasters, which is a nice pull, and then just a whole bunch of high yellow and low red maps. Although technically these could sell for maybe a total of 50 chaos if I was to actually put the effort into selling them, the amount of time that would be necessary to move them all is just too much for it to be worthwhile. So for that reason, I'm going to just count these as only about 25C, because I'm not likely to actually realise their value. So next up, there's a whole bunch of Sacrifice Fragments. So there's just shy of 50 of these in total. These go for about a chaos each in the current league. Sometimes a little bit less. They're hard to move in bulk this league, which is unusual, and that's because Blights drop so damn many of them. But anyways, I'm going to call this another 50C because I probably undervalued the maps that we had before. Alright, so next up we have a couple of interesting rare items and uniques. So we have a couple of jewels that are probably not sellable, but that might just be exactly what someone needs. And this, yeah, this is probably the weakest of the lot. But these are all rare jewels that might be exactly what someone needs, and that are the sort of thing that I'll throw into a 40C tab, expecting them never to sell, and then over the course of the league, I'll keep dropping that tab until things start moving. Call of the Brotherhood is a damn fine, unique ring. Not sure how meta it is this league, and I need to really check its pricing. This Reaver helmet has the best enchant for Detonate Dead. Detonate Dead is very off meta, so it's probably not going to sell, but if someone wants it, if someone is actually playing Detonate Dead, then they probably want this item or some alternative to it. And then there's just one of the useful conversion jewels. These are some of the oddities that I found in there. This is an incursion item, so it's one of the incursion rares, but it has the combination of, well, the Citiqualotl, I think is his name, has that top tier minion affix, which I don't think is of any real use, but I'm just inclined to throw it into a sale tab on the off chance that that is a rare incursion mod. I don't think it is. I think it's just a normal rarity one, in which case it's never going to sell. But it's because I don't know enough about these items, I'm going to stick it into a sale tab and see if it does end up getting attention. And then there's this silly plague collar here, which is a terribly bad Jade Amulet, but is just pointed out as an oddity because it is too implicit corrupted. There was also a jewel that was too implicit corrupted, but it was actually awful. Okay, so at this point, we'll pause again, and I'll put those aside and then look for some more stuff in there. So next up we have Breach Splinters. 31 Chayula Splinters is actually a little bit of a jackpot there. Some Cavalry Splinters, Eternal Empire Splinters, Vaal Splinters, Zoff Splinters, almost a full Breachstone. Esh Splinters, Tull, and Ulnatol is the rarest of the Breach Splinters there. Obviously Chayula would normally be the rarest, but I got lucky. I had Chayula pop in person. I got 10 for killing him, as well as that challenge, as well as a whole bunch from that breach. That was an absolutely packed breach. But while we're dealing with oddities, this ring here was one that dropped from a Blight, and because you can't get Shaper or Elder Influence on Vaal Temple under any circumstances that I know of, and so this is something that has a little bit of value. It's only an item level 83, but Shaper rings definitely have some value to the right crafter, and also they have a value floor that is set by the 4 Exalt shard recipe. For that reason, I usually just throw these unidentified into a 30 chaos tab and then just slowly reduce it over time. Next up we have the oils. We have 1 opalescent oil, I think they're about 25C. We have 5 teal oils, so that's about 5, that's 35. We have an azure, which I'm not sure of the value of, they're not that great, and a crimson, which is about 7. So all told, I'm going to call this about 50 in oils, because you can vendor up the lower ones. And next up we have the pure currency, which is not counting the things that we've already mentioned. 4 annulment orbs is the big hit there, 169 chromes, 360 jewelers, 120 fusings, 100 alchemies, I'm rounding up the shards, and 155 alterations there. There'll be more, there's a bit more to come. And now at this point I'll leave you with the crumbs, which is a Harbinger's Orb, 7 annulment shards, there are 7 ancient shards in there somewhere, and then there's about 50C in miscellaneous dribs and drabs in here, in the rest of this. Most of that tied up in the Scouring Orbs and the Orbs of Regret. I also have a feeling that there's a possibility that the Zana map device sometimes took some of the Chaos Orbs that I used to fund the various maps. Some of them may have been taken from here by mistake. I'm confident that I had more than 10 raw Chaos drops in this zone. So I'm going to assume that I had, because Chaos Orbs tend to be 1 Chaos Orb drops per 2.5 alchemies, I'm going to assume that I had a total of 40 drop, and that 30 got consumed by the map device. It's a bit of an estimate, but it's the best that I can do, given that there's been a little bit of loss in the amount of them that have shown up. There's nothing else of particular value or note here, but if you've got any questions, definitely fire away, and I will total all of that up and put it in the description. So I've just totaled everything up, and it turns out that my net income, the net value of everything in that stash tab, assuming that it was priced to sell, is 3150 chaos, 3150. Minus 1170 chaos invested is approximately a 2000 chaos return. So that's not too bad, actually. That's about 60 chaos per map that was run in terms of profit that was made. And there's not any one particular drop that made or broke all of that. I do feel I got a bit lucky getting the Soul Taker, but I only got one Beauty Through Death, and I have heard people say that you can get more than one from running 30 of this map. So all told, I think up 2000 chaos is not a bad outcome from this. It certainly took a lot longer than I was expecting to run all of these Vaal Temples, and that's just because the layout is absolutely awful. But I think it's something that's worthwhile doing. Have a bit of fun running it. If you like the map, then definitely stick with it. If you find it awful, don't worry about it. There's plenty of other, probably more lucrative options that you can run as an alternative. Anyways, if you've got any questions, fire away below. Otherwise, I'll leave it there.